Good afternoon, morning, maybe evening, I guess, depending on where you're dialing in from today, and welcome to the Senturus webinar series. Today's topic is one of my personal favorites, what's new in Cognos 11.2.3. Today's agenda is we'll kind of go over some brief introductions, we'll discuss the recent Cognos releases and sort of the innovation stream, we'll discuss the IBM Analytics Content Hub, we'll get into the new features 11.2.3, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some additional resources and a Senturus overview, and then we'll handle your questions and kind of get as many of those answered as we can in the time we have. And as I mentioned, we will follow up with any unanswered questions at the as we post it to the website in a couple of days. Joining us today is Tim Aston. Tim had joined IBM about 14 years ago as a developer and currently is a senior product manager for Cognos Analytics. He focuses on the Cognos homepage, customizations, and mobile support. He is based in the Ottawa, Canada area. My name is Todd Schumann. I'll be your host today. I run the installations, upgrades, and optimization practice at Senturus. You may recognize me from such highly acclaimed webinars in the past, such as Cognos Analytics performance tuning tips and tips for installing Cognos 11. We've got a few polls today, so I wanted to get a quick reading from today's crowd. First question, what version of Cognos are you using? I'm hoping no one's before Cognos 10, like people are still running Cognos 8 or even impromptu, I hope not to see. Cognos 10, some version of that, Cognos 11.0, 11.1, or are you kind of on the 11.2 innovation stream where we'll be kind of touching on today? So if you kind of take a second and vote. Okay, so good news is everyone's on at least Cognos 10 or above, and the majority of people seem to be on 11.1. I'm guessing 11.17, that long-term support version, which is a good stable one to stick with. And then actually a decent amount of people are on 11.2, which is great to see as well. Can we go to the next poll? Number 2, what are your biggest challenges with Cognos? You can do all that apply. Is it enabling adoption of self-service, performance report, scroll, general cleanup, data migrations to the cloud, hybrid environments, or licensing, slicing based on your current use? And feel free to check all that apply. Okay, we've got about 70 some in, so let's go ahead and post the results. So number 1 looks like the performance reporting, sprawl, general cleanup makes sense. Close second is the adoption of self-service, also can be challenging. And then we got kind of about around 13 to 20% on the other 3. So that's good to know. Thank you for your feedback. With that said, I'm going to toss it up to Tim, who's going to take you through the meat of today's presentations, and I'll join you back at the end to kind of close up and answer your questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks a ton, Todd, and thanks everybody for joining today. I think you picked a great webinar to join. I'm going to cover what's new in Cognos Analytics with Watson 11.2.3. This is a very exciting release for us, actually. We managed to pack in a ton of features, some particularly impactful features as well. So I think you'll really enjoy what we have to talk about today. I'll just cover a few background things first, a little bit just where we are in our release cycle here. We're in the Cognos 11.2.x cycle at the moment. So that's the second from the bottom teal bar. We're approaching the end of that stream with 11.2.3. We're planning to do one more release in that stream before we do what we call our long-term support release. But we still, of course, have the previous long-term support release that is still active. That's the 11.1.7 that we're still producing fix packs for, and we will continue to support that for a little while longer still as well. I want to give a little just recap of some of the stuff in the most recent releases. As you saw from the poll, a few of you are hanging back on some of the earlier releases, especially 11.1.7, which of course is perfectly fine. But I just wanted to recap some of the stuff that you might have missed from some of the most recent releases, and I'll just cover this really quickly and then get into the brand new stuff. 11.2.0, the start of this stream, of course, this was quite a significant update, and you know, it would take me the whole time just to cover everything that was in this. But there was a big UX revamp. We brought in the IBM Carbon design system, and there's a brand new homepage Great new content navigation as well. A lot less of these slide out panels. Our AI features were enhanced to support OLAP cubes, so that's especially useful if you're using Cognos Analytics with planning analytics and want to access TM1. We've got the assistant and forecast that are supporting that. We had new visualization types, lots of customization, Watson Studio integrations, better certificate support, and actually quite a big performance bump in the loading time of dashboards. That was a big release. The next two releases were relatively small, kind of, as we move through the 11.2.1 stream, but there were a few changes. You might have noticed I introduced the product as IBM Cognos Analytics with Watson. That's a brand name change that we made in the 11.2.1 timeframe. It doesn't represent new features that were delivered particularly at that point in time. It was more as a recognition that we've actually had Watson technology embedded in Cognos for quite a while, and we wanted to just put that out front and center. This is when our on-demand cloud offering, we used to have 3 tiers, and the top tier with reporting and everything used to be more expensive. We simplified that, lowered the cost to just 2 tiers. We also included a mobile license now for just $5. You can get people entitled to use Cognos on their mobile devices if that's all you want. Of course, all your existing users are already entitled to use mobile. There were map improvements. Dremio and IBM Cloud SQL supported as data sources. Some the new donut visualization, and a big performance bump with tab reports. And then 11.2.2, just quickly, that's when we brought in what we call the natural language rephraser. So this is in Explorer, where we show the natural language details panel. The phrasing of that just became a lot better. It just reads a lot more naturally now. The assistant, you'll see some more improvements in 11.2.3, but this is when we first brought in support for relative time operators in the assistant, so you could ask questions from the assistant about dates. There were some usability improvements, some sorting improvements. The downloading experience was improved as well in reporting, and this is when we finalized all the Log4j work. Of course, there were multiple releases, especially in the first half of the year, to cover off the various Log4j updates that needed to happen, and that was all firmed up in 11.2.2, and we added some more support for JWT authentication, which you'll hear a bit more as well about for 11.2.3. Now, something else I want to make sure everybody is aware of is a new offering in the Cognos family called the IBM Analytics Content Hub. So this is an offering that is being made available in conjunction with Cognos and/or Planning Analytics, and it's really about being able to break down all those silos that you have with your different analytics tools, because most of us, there are multiple tools that we're using, and this allows you to put all of those onto the same web portal, the same dashboards. So you can even have content from other vendors on here mixed with your Cognos content. And it really allows you to start to consolidate your different BI solutions into one place. So it's a very powerful tool. It's got tons of customization, and it really brings like a common interface onto everything. So this is a brand new offering that we have now available. All right, let's get into the main subject for today, which is covering what is new in our 11.2.3 release, which, by the way, is out now. It did come out, I think, 3 weeks ago. So this is available to you if you haven't already downloaded it or requested an update on the cloud. You can do so right away. Here's a list of all the features that are in it. I will cover most of these in some greater detail, but I just wanted to show this slide because it really kind of illustrates that this is a big release and there's quite a lot to cover here. So bear with me as I go through some of the things. All right, we're going to start off with a really, I think, impactful and game-changing new feature, and what we're first introducing in 11.2.3 is the ability to do collaboration using Microsoft Teams. Now, especially when the pandemic hit and a lot of us transitioned to working at home, Microsoft Teams became a huge part of our daily lives. Actually, at IBM, we're not a Teams shop. We use Slack, and we've had Slack integration in Cognos for a little bit now. But in terms of what's happening in this space, is Microsoft is becoming the dominant player. So we recognize that, and we've added some great features to integrate Cognos with Microsoft Teams. So let's take a look at some of those now. There's two main features that I'm going to walk you through. So here I am in a Cognos dashboard, and I'm going to hit the share button, which we have today. But what's new is we have the ability to share on Microsoft Teams. We've had email and Slack for a while now, so it's the Teams the part that is new here. And how this works is you can include a screenshot of your dashboard, the link to it as well, which you usually want. You're going to be able to type in a message and all that, but you can actually crop and annotate the screenshot of the dashboard. So in this case, I don't want to send the whole dashboard. I just actually wanted to send this one chart over on Teams, and I can mark it up with text, and I can scribble on it and draw arrows and all that kind of stuff as well. So now you can see that my screenshot has updated to reflect that. I'm going to pick the actual team that I want to share that with. And then I'm going to choose my recipient who I'd like to send that to in that team. It has to contact the team server at this point in time just to pull up a list of who is available. And you'll see that, there's the auto completion as well as I type in a name here. I'm going to share it with my colleague Alice. And I can type in a message, of course, as well. And then just hit the share button. And then over here in Teams, you'll see that in the chat, that has now shown up. The link is there. The picture that I cropped and included the arrow on is there as well. Okay, so let's look at another part of the Teams integration now, and that's kind of going in the other direction. So that was, first I showed you pushing content from Cognos into Teams. Now I'm going to show you the other way around. And you can add a Cognos application to Teams, which is what I'm doing right now. And using that application, you can browse through your Cognos content and add that into your Teams instance to share with others. So here I've selected a dashboard. You can see now a tab has been added to my Teams window. And I can have other people in this chat as well. And this dashboard is totally interactive. You'll see the filtering working, all the features that you have when you're viewing a dashboard will work here. Of course, this is a read-only mode. This is not where you go and develop dashboards, but this is for interacting and sharing dashboards with people in Teams. No need to launch a separate browser window to log into Cognos and look around there. You've got the tab right there in Teams. So here's some of the interactions working. You can even turn on insights, so you can see some of the AI features on charts as well, like the meaningful differences and the average values. The filtering, like I mentioned, that's all there. Everything that you set up on your dashboard to interact with is going to be available. And then because it's Teams, you can message other people. I can use the @ symbol to message my colleague Zach and tell him something about this dashboard. Okay, that is the new Microsoft Teams features. So I demoed most of that, so I'm going to skip past the slides. And we'll move on to the next topic. Next topic is data access and data modeling improvements. This is at the end of the day, you've got to get at your data. So we're always, looking to enable you to get at your data better and more of it. There were some small data source conformance updates with this release. Primarily, that's the single store data source that is now supported through a native driver. It used to be supported using third-party driver before, but we've got the native driver for it. So this is just going to work better with single store. You should see some performance improvements and other improvements there with working with single store. Speaking of performance improvements, there are some general performance improvements that have been made to querying. One of them is just to further optimize our reliance on vendor-specific functions. Of course, Cognos is dynamically generating SQL for you behind the scenes. And it's always our policy to push as much processing into the database as possible. And that requires using various vendor-specific functions to optimize that best. And then there's been some additional optimizations in that area that have been added in this release. Also, when you're working with relative dates, so this is a feature of data modules where you can add relative date filters for things like prior week, same month, next quarter, or prior quarter, that kind of stuff. So we've been able to optimize the querying for that. So you're going to see better performance when using the relative dates now. I mentioned some support that was added for JWT secure connections. In some previous releases, we added a couple more support for that in a couple more databases in 11.2.3. That's Amazon Redshift and Trino. So basically what this is this means that instead of having to use some kind of system authentication that's common for all your users into the data source, you can have users authenticate as themselves. So it just allows you to have that additional layer of governance into your data sources if you would like. A feature that has existed in Framework Manager for a long time that we brought into data modules now is the description field. So I always had the comments field, but the comments field was something just that showed up in data modules. The description field will be available for you to see when you're authoring things in reporting and dashboards. So that's a good field to set up when you're modeling, so that you can better inform your business users who may be creating self-service dashboards, or your authors that are creating reports, what the purpose of the field is, or any additional context that you want to include in there. And then we have another big feature that is also something that's been available in Framework Manager that we've now brought into data modules as well. And that's the ability to create aliases and shortcuts for tables. So this is very useful when you're joining multiple tables together, but in slightly different contexts. So you'd want different aliases for those fields. For example, you might have kind of a date field that you want to join with, like a ship date or an order date. In these different contexts, you would want to have them labeled differently. So these two things are part of this kind of constant push that we've got going on to bring over, to bridge any gaps between data modules and Framework Manager. And those gaps are becoming increasingly small. There are still some, but there are fewer and fewer. So most of your modeling needs, you'll find, can be met by data modules nowadays. And of course, data modules itself has many features that Framework Manager does not. That said, Framework Manager is not going anywhere. We know that many of you rely on it heavily, so it is absolutely no immediate plans, or even not so immediate plans, to get rid of Framework Manager. It is not going anywhere. All right, let's talk about AI enhancements. There have been a few of those. I mentioned the ability to understand dates in the AI assistant that came in 11.2.2. In 11.2.3, it's gotten even fancier, where we can understand various holidays and things like Y to D, Q to D, et cetera, year to date, quarter to date, that kind of thing. You'll see some examples here where I'm typing in things like, I can even say, like, show me sales from last Xmas, and it figures that out, and will automatically create the date filter in the answer for that. And I'm going to do show me the sales year to date by state. There's quite a wide variety of holidays and ways of expressing, referring to dates here. And the relative stuff too, like last Independence Day and that kind of thing, like I'm doing in this example. Forecasting is one of the most powerful AI features that we have in Cognos Analytics, and that's seen a big boost in functionality in 11.2.3. So the way a forecast worked in 11.2.2 and below is it was always based on what fields were in your chart. So if your chart showed sales over time, then it would just look at the historical data and forecast that out outwards. I'm making that sound very simple, but actually it's not simple at all, because it would and still does look at several forecasting algorithms, and it does an evaluation to determine which algorithm produces the best result. But what we've added in 11.2.3 is the ability to consider more fields than what is shown in the chart, because sales or all kinds of things are going to be influenced by more things than simply their historical trends. So now you can add up to 5 additional factors to consider when you're making a forecast. So for example, here it is sales that I'm looking to show in this chart and to forecast. But you can see that I've been able to add other factors in here, like labor rate, net loss, and worldwide sales. So these aren't shown in the chart, but the forecast takes those into consideration. So it's a much more powerful way of doing forecasting, because it's fed by more complex factors. So sometimes the actual visual difference may not be huge, but you can be assured that you're getting a forecast that is much more well considered, based on a broader spectrum of parameters. All right, we have a few other ongoing improvements in the product. I'm going to switch over to my Cognos instance to show these. I'll just refresh to make sure I haven't timed out while I was blabbing away there. Okay, I want to show you the way the new search works. We made an important enhancement to that. So I'm just going to go over to my content view here in Cognos. And I think I have a folder in here with my name on it, very original. So I'm going to do some search. I did some analytics. I did a blog post about this a year or so ago about the Olympics. So I just did a search for Olympics. And what's new here is the search results came up in 2 tabs. So the way that search has worked in Cognos up until now is it's always been a global search. So it takes your keyword and it looks inside your content for everything that you have access to, and gives you results from there. So that's great if you kind of have no idea where the things you're looking for are located. But you do get a lot of results that way, and sometimes it's a lot to sift through. If you do have a good idea of what you're looking for and where it's located, you can navigate into that folder. And then you can see in the first search results tab, it's just looked in the folder that I was in. So this is all the results of things in the folder named Tim, and below that matched my search term of Olympics. And of course, this is all interactive. I can click on any of these to open them, or I can navigate into folders directly from here. But if you still like the way the old search worked, no problem, it's there. Wasn't too much more in this case that matched. but this is the global search from all over. You can see it's pulled stuff from my content as well as the results that I saw from team content there. And really, actually, I mean, search in Cognos has always been very fast. So having this additional search in there really doesn't affect performance at all. It all returns very, very quickly. Now, another UI improvement I want to show you is, let me go into the properties now of, let's say, just this dashboard. And this is a brand new UI for properties. Properties used to be in a slide out panel. That was very much the Cognos 11 way of doing things. Of course, in Cognos 11.2, we introduced this beautiful full screen content navigation that I've been using. But we did still have a few holdovers from the old way of doing things in the slide out panels, and the properties was one of those. So properties now has this full page view, and depending on your asset type, you have additional, for example, reports have additional tabs. They're all full screen as well, same with permissions. So a lot more real estate to work with things. You're not stuck in that cramped panel like you were before. And there's one more very small change I want to make you aware. We're always looking to enhance the customizability, especially the home page, because that's where most of your users start. And this is just a much requested feature, is some people didn't want to have our watch video button there. So you can now turn that off. And that's handled through role customization. So if you go into a role, go into its properties, under customizations, there's the features. This is where you can turn off, I mean, hundreds, I think, of different features that you can toggle on and off in here. And the easiest way, because there's so many, to find this one is just search for video. And you can see here that we've got the option to turn off the watch video based thing. So you can say for this role you do or you do not want them to have that button be visible. All right, so I've covered these things. Okay, let's change gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about data science. So this is Jupyter Notebooks primarily, and our integration there. We have upgraded the kernels, so this is important just to keep up to date with recent versions of the R and the Python kernels. So they've both been updated, the R kernel to 4.1 and the Python kernel to 3.9.7, and that's just to make sure that you got all the latest features and other things that have come with those, so you can maximize your compatibility. Notebooks works in a when you're running Cognos on premise anyways, it runs in a containerized environment. So that was a Docker container. We do support Podman now as well in 11.2.3. Podman is just an alternative to Docker, another way that you can run your containers. Recently, there's just been, for some people, there've been some reservations around Docker due to some of the licensing changes that have been going on there. Some have been switching to Podman. You can see in some of the output here, this is these are containers running with Podman instead of Docker. So you now have that option available to you. Can Docker, of course, is still supported as well. And then one other update in the data science front is the ability to export your notebooks into an external file. So this is good if you want to be able to bring that into your own instance of Jupyter Notebooks, for example. And that's super easy to access. It's just in the context menu from the content navigation. There's just a new export option in that menu for you. Okay, let's go to another area and let's talk about some big changes that have happened. I'm going to show you another one of our marquee features in this release as I cover some of the dashboard enhancements. So what I'm going to show you now is how to do cascading filters in dashboards. So I'm going to go back to my Cognos, and we're going to do a live demo of this. So I've got just a blank dashboard canvas here. I started it from a CSV file that I have, and I'm going to make a really simple chart for you. I'm just going to do product line and revenue. I'm just going to drag that onto the canvas. So we'll make a chart here. And then I want some filters on here. I've got some geographical fields in here, so I'm just going to drag those into the filter shelf. I've got country, I've got province, and I've got city. So the issue previously, anytime you've had some kind of natural hierarchy like this with filters, is they don't filter each other. So if I filter on Canada, and then I want to then filter on province or state, I'm still seeing all these provinces and states from everywhere that I've got in the data set. So that's not always relevant for how you want to filter. So what's new, this is what we call a cascading filter. And I think just seeing it in action is probably the best way to show it. And it's really easy to do. I'm just going to say, start adding these filters to a cascading set. You'll see visually that they've been grouped together in this gray box now. So what this means now is basically that each of these fields will filter the other ones. So now when I select Canada, and I select a province or state, oopsie, sorry, didn't select Canada, that's why. Select Canada, select province or state. Now I'm only seeing Canadian provinces. And if I select Ontario, and now I look into cities, these are only cities in Ontario. Select Ottawa because that's where I am. So really easy to set up. It just makes the filtering that much more powerful. You can have whatever fields you want in here. I mean, something like geography, of course, is a very natural hierarchy, but any kind of hierarchy that you might have, it could be product category, product line, units and divisions of your organization, on and on and on. However you want to do this. These don't even have to be navigation paths. I actually didn't define any navigation paths in here either. So it's really just that simple to use. Now another feature I'll show you that's new in dashboards, kind of related to filtering as well, is it's a new widget type. It's the drop-down list. So I'll just add this to my canvas. And this is a very simple widget actually, but really useful, again, to act as a filtering. But this is an on-canvas filter, which is sometimes preferable depending on your use case to having it in the filter shelf. So here I dragged education in, and it just means that now that I have this on my canvas. Of course, I can resize things any way I want to make them fit better. I've got various styling options on here. I can change the placeholder text. Of course, I can type whatever I want up here, and change all the fonts and that kind of stuff too. So just additional flexibility of things that you can put on the canvas. Okay, and I'll go back to the slides and cover a few more features that are in dashboards. This is actually something that was in an extension, and this is something that we've started to do with 11.2.3, is bring in some of the features that we have available in the accelerator catalog and extensions. Try to bring in some of the most popular ones as built-in features of the product, so that you don't have to deal with extensions to enable these features. So we've got a couple of these we're going to see here in 11.2.3. There'll be more in the next release as well. This one is all about improvements to the cross tab, being able to create cross tabs that are based only on values, and the ability to move the value fields across, to have them appear as row headers, just depending on certain conditions here that would have to be met. So just, a lot more flexibility in the cross tab, which is of course, one of our most popular visualizations in dashboards. This one is the filter stuff that I have covered. Another new one is the ability to add an additional field to the tooltips. So you'll see in this little demonstration here on the tooltip field, I'm going to put another field in here. I'm going to put income as well. So that's not shown in the chart, but it just means now whenever I hover over something, I'm going to see the related income value as well in the tooltip. So just a way to convey more information. Normally you just see revenue, which is the data in the chart, but now you can show additional fields that aren't in the chart without making your chart unnecessarily cluttered. So really handy little feature. Was previously an extension, but that's now just built in. Speaking of visualization improvements, we've got this new zoom bar, which is just a different way, new user interface into zooming into visualizations. So it's off by default. You can enable it, and then it enables this slider that you can then interact with to change the zoom level and the viewable area of the chart. So you could use various pinch and swipe gestures before to get this, which is still there. But now you've just got a more visual way of allowing users to zoom into charts as well. And this is available for the bar, area, and line chart in 11.2.3. Those are chart types where zoom is most useful. We'll certainly look at other chart types for the next releases as well to add this feature to. And then a little bit just on the security front, there's been some additional package capabilities that have been added to support dashboards. So you can now have, you can see it ticked off here, the dashboard create and edit capability on a package. So that's new. We didn't used to have that in packages before. Again, kind of start of a journey a bit here. In the coming release, we do plan to also add this ability for data modules and data assets. So, we're always trying to make governance enhancements to as we go as well. It's obviously something that we pride ourselves on. All right, let's talk about reporting now. There have been some enhancements there. We've got a few new visualization properties that have come in. So in the bubble chart, there's new properties for setting the bubble size and also being able to limit the smallest and largest ones. This can be useful sometimes when your data has got quite a wide variety of things or some outliers and you don't want them to, they can kind of tend to dominate and you can lose the rest of your data when you've got extra big or extra small outliers. So having these kind of min and max options will help you control that and just better visualize that kind of data. Some improvements in tree map labeling, being able to show intermediate labels, show leaf labels. So there's some new options that you've got available to you. And then some general labeling enhancements as well, being able to select the fonts and colors. I've got quite a vibrant bold blue here on my bar labels, so you've got full control over that now. Some tweaks, just sort of in general administration and general authoring. We've separated out some capabilities for so you can differentiate between who can edit and create reports versus who can run user-defined SQL, use HTML items, and do bursts. So just again, that sort of finer-grained control, finer-grained governance. A few configuration options as well. I showed you some, the ability to hide the watch video button. It's the same, you do access it the exact same way through role customization. This is if you just want to hide the more button or the properties button from reporting. Again, just some people like very controlled view of what's available and what's not, so we've added those options. There's some drill through enhancements as well. So when you're performing a drill through from reporting to reporting, the values will be included that are included in the context filter are going to be automatically passed along. This is for package drills only, I should mention. So it is limited to working with FM packages. This also works if you're drilling from Analysis Studio to Report Studio. And a little new additional information in the audit database as well, where if you're using report views, the source report will be captured in the audit database too. So for those looking for increased information in their audit logs, we've got this information in there now. All right, and just the very last thing I'm going to cover, and then we're going to be able to start working through some questions. Just some deprecations. Generally speaking, we deprecate support for things because the vendor that makes them no longer supports them either. So if they don't support them, there's not really much we can do to support them. So you just see some older versions of Windows, IIS, Firefox, things like that. So just an FYI on some things that are being deprecated. All right, that was it for my part. Todd, did you want to do a quick wrap up before we get into the Q&A?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tim. That was great. So just kind of go through these slides, a little bit about Senturus, what we do. We offer a variety of resources to help you with your Cognos environments, anywhere from optimizing data models, data governance, self-service, performance tuning, cleaning up content. We have a tool that we've recently introduced that can help really scan and identify all the objects in your content store to give you better insight for cleanup purposes, running content from Cognos and other platforms, sizing, upgrading, and our wonderful training practice. Some additional resources. We've got hundreds of free resources on our website under the Knowledge Center. We've been committed to sharing our BI expertise for over a decade now. If you just go to senturus.com/resources, you can go ahead and take advantage of that. You can also find my blog post on 11.2.3, some of my favorite new features as well that kind of touch on a lot of the things that Tim just demoed. We've got some upcoming events. If you want to join us for either of these, please go to our website and register. Specifically on October 13th, we have a demonstration of our proprietary app that we developed that automates the Cognos content cataloging process that I was just talking about. It's able to help sort out valuable content from all unnecessary bloat and help you identify content that can be impacted by different data source changes. So lots of different ways to kind of analyze your Cognos content with this tool. So I'll be working and presenting on that one as well. And then just a little more background on Senturus. We concentrate on BI modernizations and migrations across the entire BI stack. We provide a full spectrum of BI services and training in a variety of BI platforms. Our proprietary software facilitates bimodal BI. And we've got a long history of success. We've been focused exclusively on business analytics for more than 2 decades. Our team is large enough to meet all your business analytic needs, yet small enough to provide personal attention. And we are currently hiring. If you're interested in joining us, we are looking for some positions, specifically an analytics business intelligence trainer and a management consultant. Feel free to check it out on our website or send your email and resume to jobs@senturus.com. And finally, Q&A time. So we've got about 10 minutes or so to go through your questions. I know Greg and myself have been kind of answering questions in the panel throughout the webinar, but if you've got additional questions, now is a great time to put them into the chat and we can go ahead and talk through them now and take a quick look and see anything that hasn't been answered and see if we can dive into that. Here's a question. Any updates around hiding, showing visuals in dashboards? Not sure exactly what you mean by hide show, but maybe it's something like conditional, like a conditional block, you know, if you toggle between one or the other. Is that something that's available or that you're aware of that's being considered?
not available. The closest I can think of that is the tab widget, which we have in the Accelerator catalog, which lets you have tabs in your dashboard canvas. I suspect that's a little different than what the question would be, though, it was about. Other than that, I can't think of anything related to that that's upcoming.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Let's see, a couple of questions. Someone was asking, is 11.2.3 available? And the answer is yes. It came out late August, I think the 30th of August, so it should be available to download. If you're able to access your Passport Advantage website, you should be able to download the latest version. And this will not be the long-term support version. There's be one more version towards the end of the year, I think in November, 11.2.4. That will be sort of the long-term support version. So if you're kind of sticking to those and kind of upgrading less than all the releases that currently go on, that's going to be kind of the one that you want to get to and stay on if you want to avoid upgrading every couple months.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It should be out before the end of the year. 11.2.4 as the long-term support release. If you want kind of to preview any of these features without committing to downloading and install, you can always sign up for the 30-day free trial of Cognos and play around with it there. Nice, easy way to preview some things with absolutely no time commitment required to set it up.
Someone's asking about titles in the outline. Are you able to add calculated titles, including filters, states, etc.? Like, not sure what that
means. Nothing new in that
dynamic
area.
Titles, yeah.
Yeah, I think the short answer is no on that one.
Okay. Someone asking about Query Studio, if that's still available.
It is still available. We don't do updates to Query Studio or Analysis Studio. Those have kind of been on the way out for a while now. In fact, I don't know if this is confirmed yet or not, actually, to be honest, but it's quite possible that 11.2.4 may be the last release to support those. The long and the short of it is it's best to get off Query Studio and Analysis Studio. We'd like to help you with that. We are working on some documentation to help guide you whether you're better using dashboards or reporting depending on your use case. Those are two of the legacy studios. We haven't really been supporting them in terms of new features. We haven't been developing them, is what I should say, for a while, and so they are probably not much longer for this world. But they will continue to be supported in the 11.2 stream for sure. So when you're on 11.2.3, 11.2.4 coming up, they'll still be there and they will still work. The browser conformance has been a big issue for people that are staying on those, of course, because ever since Internet Explorer 11 finally died off, your only choice really is Firefox for those, and we certainly don't plan to add additional browsers to Analysis Studio or Query Studio.
Right, I believe 11.2 in general doesn't even support even like connecting to the web page with Internet Explorer.
No, it does not. You cannot use Internet Explorer at all with Cognos 11.2 now.
Right, okay.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
It's Greg. Sorry, I deleted a question by mistake. I just wanted to quickly answer it. Event Studio is available in 11.2.3, 11.2.4, and 11 and beyond. There's no plans to deprecate Event Studio. Period, end of story.
Great, thank you. I see lots of questions coming in now about Event Studio, Query Studio, Analysis Studio. So the same answer, they're all kind of legacy tools that are available. They require an older browser or Firefox, but as Tim mentioned, they're they are going to be going away at some point.
Yeah, sorry, I do want to make sure this is 100% clear because it is, because of similar names and stuff, it's a source of confusion sometimes. Query Studio and Analysis Studio, they are on the way out. Event Studio is not on the way out, as Greg said, and I want to reaffirm that. And we added support for the Chrome browser there as well, so you don't have the same issues with the browsers. And Event Studio has even seen a couple of minor new features in the last couple of releases as well. So Event Studio will be there. It's there in 11.2.3. It'll be there in 11.2.4, as will Query Studio and Analysis Studio. It's then what happens next for Query Studio and Analysis Studio. They may not be in 11.3. I don't think we've confirmed that decision yet, but I can confirm that Event Studio will be there in the future releases 11.3 and beyond.
Great, thank you.
And I noticed someone asked the same question about Workspace as well. Workspace, I can't remember if that, I mean, that is still in 11.2.3 and will be in 11.2.4 as well. We wouldn't pull something, by the way, in this stage of a release cycle. You know, we're kind of in the lifetime of 11.2.x, we wouldn't pull something kind of in the middle of it. So basically anything that's supported by 11.2.3 is going to be supported by 11.2.4, which will be a long-term support release, which, you know, if you do want to stay with some of these older technologies, you'll be able to do that. So yeah, so I don't know the future of Workspace beyond 11.2, the 11.2 stream, but it's still there for now. But you know, that's another one that we recommend getting off of.
I was going to say, I think I did a upgrade webinar a while ago on 11.2.2 or 10.2.2 when it first came out, and I think even that version wasn't supposed to have a lot of these legacy things. They were going to pull the plug way back then, and it's been going on and on and on. So it's been probably almost 7-8 years now since they threatened to pull the plug on those tools. So they're still there, but
yeah, we've sort of
to go.
Like tried to be nice about it, I guess, and you know, we don't want to leave anybody behind. Like, you know, we get it that people do rely on these tools, but you know, they're getting pretty old now, and you know, the time has come. So on a couple of them, we are going to get a little more firm. But yeah, it's not like any of this should be huge news, I wouldn't think, to most of you. Kind of been fairly well known, I think, that they're on their way out.
Right. A couple questions about PowerPlay Studio and PowerPlay Web. Are those still supported, and will they continue to be supported?
Do you know, Greg? I can never remember with PowerPlay.
Hi, sorry about that. Yep. Well, PowerPlay continues to be supported. PowerPlay Studio continues to move forward, continues to be version number updated. No plans to remove that yet.
Okay, awesome. Here's a question. Is it possible to see underlying SQL from a report based off data modules?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't know off the top of my head, unless you know, Greg.
I don't either. Sorry, I'll Slack somebody.
Someone's asking about the long-term support for 11.2.4 when that comes out. Will that be 18 months or 24 months from that release?
It should be at least the 2 years, and then there'd be an option to extend that for a year as well.
So standard 2 plus an option to go to 3.
Yeah. Yep.
In 11.1.7, that's on that 2 years will be coming up soon, correct?
Yeah. So you'll have, and I think it'll be a little beyond the 2 years with 11.1.7, just because of the timeline where you know, it's been a little more than 2 years before 11.2.4 has come out. So just between the LTSRs, because it was longer, so there'll be, I think, a little longer there. We haven't announced the end of life of 11.1.7 yet, so that will be announced with lots of notice. You know, we don't even have the next LTSR out yet either. So we always intend to give you a good amount of overlap there. So, you're not going to have, if you do prefer to stay on the long-term support releases, you don't have to jump right away on 11.2.4 with, fears that 11.1.7 is going to be killed off imminently. We will allow a decent amount of overlap there. Of course, we do like to see you update as quickly as possible, but generally been our policy to accommodate you as much as possible as well.
Okay, great. I get time for one more question. Someone was asking about, where did it go? Oh, active reports. Any updates on active reports?
Also steady state there, although, they were impacted by Internet Explorer getting killed off because Internet Explorer was the only platform that supported the file format. So there's now a standalone download that you can install to view active reports. So, in Cognos itself, no change with active reports. They're still there. They're not going anywhere. We know a lot of you have put a lot of effort and investment into active reports. So they're not going anywhere. But you do have to be aware that, because of the death of IE11, that your users are probably going to have to use this viewer now, which actually has the advantage that it also works on Macs. So it's not just Windows only. So you can now view active reports on Macs. And actually the performances of it is quite a bit better than it was using Internet Explorer as well. So, slight disadvantage of having the download to install, but some real pluses with the active report viewer as well.
Great. Okay, so we are at the top of the hour. I want to make sure I'm respectful of everyone's time. I'm going to leave the question and answer panel open for a couple more minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and enter them now. We'll go ahead and save that and post the written responses along with this recording and the deck on our website in a couple of days. I want to thank Tim and Greg for their help and a great presentation today, and thank you all for attending.
And thank you for hosting us, and great talk to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.